Greetings, friends, viewers, everyone. We're back. It's been a while. At least it always feels like it's been a while. And here we are. Welcome back to another live form check. Hopefully things are alright because my red bars are on the screen, but things should be okay. How are we all tonight? Yeah, quite a few people early today. Alex, Lionel, welcome. I know a few of you are going to be regulars. Some of you may be new people. And by the way, as usual, I am here as a floating head. How are we today? So, well, I guess while we're waiting for people to come in, a few little updates. I've been training quite a bit, and unfortunately, the weather has kind of turned around. We've got a lot of thunderstorms and rain and wind. Unfortunately, yet I'm still in the zone. Like I've kind of worked out a way to get a very consistent anchor, at least better than what they had before. It's funny because I'm chasing this former form that I used to have, and I'm only starting to rebuild now that I'm training more regularly. I might explain this in a different video, but if you watch the Korean archers shoot, they do a particular thing where they kind of short draw and then do an anchor point. That's basically what I'm doing. So I'm doing a short draw where I touch the inside of my knuckle against my chin as I draw back. I then make sure my back tension is fully correct. The finger tension is correct, and then I complete the draw and power through it with no hesitation. That's what I'm working on at the moment. It's been working fairly well. I'm shooting fairly consistently, though I am tiring a bit more because I am using my back tension a lot more actively, which is a good thing. But I'm yet to test this in a real shoot. In my current benchmarking, I'm shooting at my standard, which is a good sign. But again, I want to shoot a full round, and unfortunately, the rounds coming up are going to coincide with what looks like bad weather. But we'll see how that goes. So, hello to everyone in the stream: Kitty, Agnes, Shalasa, Rob, and Stefan. Welcome. This is a form check stream. So, people send in archery techniques and videos, and I'm going to analyze them, give them feedback, and my perception as an archer, as an instructor or coach. Now, I don't have two videos, unfortunately, but I thought, as we get through these, we might get one more, two more, and it might be a short stream, but it's nice to check in to see how people are doing. One of these videos I inadvertently left out in the last stream, so I'll bring that back, and I have one new video to show today. So, as usual, if you want to get a live form check and have a chat with the rest of the team, feel free to send me a link to your video and I'll take a look at it very happily. And of course, we'll be happy to take questions a bit later on. So, I want to load up our first guest video. This one is from Sugox, or otherwise known as Dominic. So, let's go for Dominic. It's a bit easier. I'll load it up. And I will read the email first. This is the one I left out last time. I do apologize, Dominic, though you probably didn't notice. But I did receive this and I did forget about it. By the way, today's archery juice is apple. Though recently, I've been starting to drink a bit of coffee. I don't normally drink coffee. Although, as the weather is getting colder, I'm starting to veer more towards a coffee, mocha, or chocolate kind of feeling. That's beside the point. So, our first email from Dominic, some notes here. So, according to Dominic, there's some bad habits. He admits there is a slight bit of overbowing, at least to explain the high shooting rate or shooting speed. So he's working on poundage, he's starting to use SPDs, and hopefully he can keep up this training. He talks about a bow hand movement in some kind of target panic. And he says he normally shoots instinctively, but it's really hard to get the point of the arrow up into the target if you have to do so. So he's working on instinctive. You might think there's a technique issue, maybe a subconscious thing from his younger years as he shoots longer distance targets. So he kind of panics at short distance, and so he wants some advice and tips. So with that in mind, let's flip over to our first video from Dominic, and let's see what he has to offer. Let's watch this together. I'm not going to comment too much. Let's watch Dominic. There's a nice bow he has there. For those watching, it's really important to submit several shots in a sequence. One shot is too easy to analyze in isolation. Multiple shots from multiple angles will give us a better story. It tells us the pattern that we need to know. I might actually activate the desktop sound. So I'm definitely not hearing it now. I'm actually gonna grab my. It's too easy to analyze in isolation. Multiple. Actually, let's not do that. I remember it causes an echo last time, so let's not cause that. I keep forgetting that I do have a play in the background. Sorry about that, guys. There was a bit of a feedback there. Yeah, we don't need to. We know we're shooting at. Shooting a very close target. Actually, I'm curious here. I'll pause it here. There's something curious about this target, which I didn't make sense initially. So, his target is there. Look at his feet position. So we're shooting from what looks like a closed stance, because his feet are very clearly aligned this way, but he's shooting at that target over there. That's definitely not straight. So we'll come back to it a bit later. I didn't realize it the first time around when I saw this, but there's definitely a misalignment. And that will cause problems in the shot process. I've got a better angle here. So it's got quite a few targets lined up. So this is what got to me first, right? So if you're shooting from a perpendicular stance, or square stance, or rather, or an open stance, the way he shoots, I imagine he'd be hitting this straw bale here, but why would we shoot there, right? So let's see where he shoots. Actually, does shoot there. That makes sense. Okay, so that time he is pointing the right way. Though I think his feet are still pointing off to this way. Alright, so it seems to be slightly misaligned. It could be a camera angle thing, but I've got a feeling he's naturally closing his stance. That's one thing I'll notice right away. There are a few other things to point out with this technique, but we'll do it a bit later. That's some blind ball shooting. That's why it's very close. He closes his eyes when he shoots and finishes the shot that way. Let's see a different angle of this shot. The eyes are open then, that's fine. Okay. Don't worry about where he's grouping. He's shooting blank bell or blind bell. Just watch his process. Eyes are closed. He's trying to feel the shot. I did say he was overbowed. So the process isn't as smooth as what he might like. Though when you're shooting blind, it does help you get the feeling right. You're not worried about hitting a target or hitting a spot. So there's a certain level of repetition which is working quite well. Let's go back before that. So there's a lot of repetition which works quite well. So let's think about this a bit more. We'll watch from the beginning again. Let's see. So let's have a look. Is it lens? Is it distortion? Possibly. Let's have a look again. So we'll watch from the beginning. Let's comment more on his technique. Alright. There's something to watch out here. I'm trying to kind of point this out. Now, elbow rotation might be a problem here. Normally, you would see for an archer the elbow rotate more to the side. The consequence is an increased likelihood of hitting your elbow. But the other consequence is that this tends to push the shoulder up. And this tends to be a symptom of being overbowed. So if we're talking about this angle here, so a lot of people shoot very heavy bows. if you haven't learned the correct technique and discipline to keep your shoulders down, your elbow out, then your body will tend to adopt a contorted position in order to get the weight back at full draw. So as a result, people tend to do this. They tend to go elbow outwards, shoulder up, and lean back. Now, Dominic isn't doing this severely in this process, but it's very difficult to get that correct shoulder alignment or position with the elbow turned inwards like that. That's going to be a problem. So what I would do recommend in that case would be to focus more on rotating your elbow, so that way there's more clearance and you're putting your shoulders down in the right position. Otherwise, you may risk yourself a bit of injury on the front shoulder. That's pretty bad. Back to our scene. So that's one thing to point out, is that elbow is definitely not rotated correctly. See the next shot. Okay. Now, I mentioned before in the chat that the hold doesn't seem that long, which is, it's fairly normal for someone shooting a traditional bow, especially with a high draw weight, because if they can't hold it, then they can't. So that's one thing to work on. But this is something to work at as a progression thing. As you get stronger and have more endurance, then it becomes easier to hold. Try not to let this dictate the shot process though. If you rush the shot and the shot isn't good, you can't take it back. So yes, conditioning is going to be a goal. That was already clarified in the email. So that's going to be something which I agree on as well. So considering he's shooting I would guess a draw weight hardener is comfortable in shooting. I would expect a certain level of haste in this. Now, for the most part, he seems to be okay with shot process. I'm just watching his anchor point. He's using the middle of his finger as an anchor point. One thing to watch out for is exactly what the anchor point is. So I've got a feeling that might be a little inconsistent with the middle finger. A lot of people will touch the tooth with the middle finger. I imagine Dominic's using something very similar. So it seems to be okay. It's not a horrible shot process, again, given that the draw weight is a little high. Yeah, it's okay. I don't feel there's a lens distortion here, by the way. Although I could be wrong on this one. Possibly, yeah, it could be lined up, but that's a weird position. Yeah, there is some curvature. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there. Kind of throws me off in terms of where he's shooting at. But get back to the stance. So he's going through this process. Good repetition here. Yeah, no, I mean, his alignment is okay. Shoulders seem okay. You know, it seems to be doing alright in, you know, getting the bow back. I would like to see a bit more aggression in the draw. So we see more power, more back tension. It's a little light from the look like. You see the follow through. It's a little flaccid, I guess you can say, especially at his blind bow shooting. So when you have this light hand movement, this is kind of the whole second anchor controversy or technique, I guess, where it doesn't really reflect the shot process. It's something you do at the end of a shot, but doesn't actually add anything to the shot. Proper back tension will probably snap that hand back a lot smoother. It's much more closer to painting your face than flapping your hand back. So this kind of tells me you could finish the shot with your back and shoulders rather than your hand. I think that kind of shows it perfectly there. We'll do it in slow motion. I'll get it right eventually, right? So do it at quarter speed. Maybe too slow, but we'll get up here. There we go. So it gets a full draw. This tells us a lot. Yeah, that movement there. I'm not saying don't do it. It's okay to finish in the same anchor point each time. But what you should do is think about how you get there, not where it is. So by squeezing through it with your shoulders, that will give me more of an idea that using back tension. And we'll see from this angle here, the back tension could be better. He goes up to his full draw there, so we'll stop that. So he goes to the full draw, you stop there, and at this point, what you should be doing is to hold it at this anchor point and squeeze your shoulders together. And when you do that, the hand will snap back, and when you release, that's just Newton's third law. Once you release this, then that opposite reaction will be the hand coming back. Now, if you see in this shot, that one's okay. That was a bit more force behind that, but we'll need to see a bit more consistency with this process. So next shot, we're getting lined up. There he is. That was a weaker one. So let's see these two shots in more detail. This is the first shot, I think. That was the weaker one, the second shot. So first shot, I'm trying to find the shots again. First shot, that was okay. Next shot, a little weaker. Let's see his third shot. Yeah, you can see that there's less intent with the follow through. So he's not thinking too much about what's. You need to continue the shot. The shot doesn't finish at the release and then you let go. The shot finishes at the follow through. So you can see, I think that the hand movement needs a bit more work there. So again, don't think about the follow through as a conscious motion, but try to squeeze through and finish a shot. Not by stopping there, but instead anchoring, squeezing. That was okay there. We'll go back to the shot I thought was a little weaker. Yeah, that was a little floppy. You can see like he kind of drops there, a bit of collapse. He does complete the shot fine, so the timing's okay. But I think the general feedback that he needs a bit more time at the hold is going to be quite important. And yes, there will be a bit of pluck on the string. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, Magic is right. Yeah, it would be the lens distortion. Just couldn't tell that from the angle. But yeah, ignore what I said before. Yeah, so what I was saying before is, yeah, what you need to do is to, once you get the anchor point, is squeeze. It's the squeeze here, and when you squeeze and you let go, then it's going to snap back. Okay, it's not going to be draw and then anchor with your middle finger, and then if you release with your hand, if you finish the shot with your arm and your hand, you will see that hand motion. This is the flap, which people talk about. I do it sometimes when I'm shooting trad in my older videos. But as you get better at using back tension, it becomes less of a hand motion and more of a arm motion. So, like I said, come in, feel the back tension, squeeze, and when you relax the fingers, the whole body will want to retract to this position to follow through. That's basically what you're doing with the back tension. So, yeah, draw weight is going to be a factor. As you get stronger with your draw weight, or more comfortable with your draw weight, then it should be easier for you to accomplish that level of back tension. I do find, however, that people who shoot higher draw weights kind of force themselves to use a high level of back tension. It's when you use light draw weight that you tend to see that flop a bit more, because the bow's too light, you don't feel you need to resist the bow as much, and therefore you use sloppier form. Whereas heavier draw weights tend to be a little more natural to use. And I think a lot of people shoot, especially trad bare bow, they feel they can only shoot at a certain high draw weight. If you shoot at a 50-pound bow, but a lot of people can't shoot with a 20-pound bow because it's just too light. And that makes sense. So, that is what you think about, is back tension is key. Try to squeeze through the shot and complete the shot with that squeeze, rather than bring the full draw and then letting it go, because that's not quite use of back tension. So that's what we need to work on there. Couple of things to look at chat. So we'll see what's chat talking about. Corner of mouth stretches the back and gives less movement to contact, gives more tension. It is hard to achieve, the same level of back tension, but at the same time, you still have to do it. Bare bow shooters who face walk or string walk face the same problem, and of course trad bare bow shooting instinctive, you still have to go through the same back tension process. Gondoiks, should you squeeze the shoulders to in thumb draw? If should you use the thumb? Yeah, of course. Look, this is what I mean by archery is the same no matter what style you do. There are several differences, but the fundamental concept and technique in archery is the same. You can't use a bow well unless you execute the correct shoulder alignment and back tension. If you read The Way of Archery by Gao Ying, translated by Justin Ma and Ji Tin, they say the same thing. Okay, back tension is a concept that is taught in all forms of archery, whether you're doing it in Japan, Korea, or Manchu style archery. Back tension is a thing. So yes, you would finish the same shot process with a thumb draw as you would with the Olympic style bow. Back tension is the same no matter what you do. The anchor may be different, but the back tension is the same. So yes, you should be squeezing shoulders together. And if you check the sources that are available for thumb draw techniques, then yes, you will see that in Eastern styles as well. Matt G, I find that when I fail to use back tension, the result I get some string slap on my forearm. That would generally be a symptom of not using back tension. It's more so that if you don't use back tension, you tend to be misaligned. So instead of following the correct line of your follow through and your shot, often you are either in the wrong wedge shape or the bow's at the wrong angle. So you end up slapping your arm because you are changing the angle of the string and you're pulling it this way, the string, the bow's pointing that way. You tend to slap your arm by having that come across. Whereas if you execute the right back tension, your elbow's in the right place, you're pushing forward and pulling backwards, and they have that snap. So the string will go straight forwards rather than sideways. Matt G again, so back tension prevents the string rolling off my fingers. Back tension should have no bearing on whether or not you can release the string smoothly off your fingers. What you release is a conscious thing. You don't naturally release. You have to say, I'm going to let go. But back tension shouldn't stop that. Back tension should enable you to reach the point where you can let go. It shouldn't stop you from letting go. Back tension is what's in your shoulders and your back. If you're not letting go, if you're not rolling the string off your fingers, that's a problem with how conscious your release is rather than your back tension. Good shots require back tension to be used correctly. If you're not applying back tension, you might have a clean release, but you're not going to have the right line, because this is the subtle thing of archery. If those who want to talk about physics and so on, this is more complicated, but the basic thing of archery is this, right? It's not about where the bow is pointing, not necessarily. Pointing the bow in the right direction is half the battle. This is why people say, if people use sights have an advantage. No, not necessarily, right? The sights will point the bow in the right direction, but you still have to execute the shot cleanly. Even with a sight pointing at a 10-meter target at the goal, giant face, you can still miss that goal because you might have the bow pointed in the right direction. But if your shoulders and your arms are not lined up with the right direction, then instead of releasing the string in a straight line that way towards the target, I might be cramped up this way, pluck the string, and cause the string to go that way. And the arrow will go that way, even though I'm pointing this way. It has a very dramatic effect, and as you shoot longer distances, that effect is amplified. So that's why you have to pay attention to your back tension. That's why I'm making a big fuss about this. I lost the point I was just saying before, but yeah, back tension isn't about achieving a clean release. Back tension means that all that tension in your body, the way your body, the frame of your body interacts with the bow, is what dictates where the arrow will go. If you don't maintain the correct alignment, then it doesn't matter where you're aiming, you will not get the arrow there. That's the fundamental. So, back to our next video. So, like I said, only 2 videos, unless someone sends me one like right now. The second video comes from a very surprising source, actually. So this is a very new archer. He's just starting out. He's using a light, I think, 18-pound club bow, and obviously as a beginner, there's a lot of things he needs to work on. So we'll take it easy on the specifics, but there's something curious about this video, which I'll show you right now. So we'll load it up. We'll close Dominic's. So this is from Marcus. And let's watch Marcus in action. So the angles are a little weird here. There's one from the back view and there's one from the front from a low angle. I just want to point out that this is a good alternate angle. So if this is the thing I see later, it helps a lot. But we can still see quite a few things. Again, light bow, club bow, not his equipment, but we can see that he's very keen and wants to pick up archery. So let's look at this sort of thing here. We can still see quite a few things from the back angle, but as we go to the front angle, it reveals what we need to see. So this is the front view. Yes, the the road cone quiver. And you think to see straight away, there are a few elements which are typical of beginners. So this is a good way to consolidate good form at an early stage. I'll do one more shot. Alright, we'll pause it there. We'll see more later. Now, the first thing I observe with this video is the backdrop. It's a very distinct blue and yellow scheme. And the reason why I point this out is because this is such a rare thing to do, right? This is the first time I've come across a form check video that's been taken at a venue that I've been to. I've shot here before, and you would think, surely you would come across this, right? Considering that I work with people all around the world, and I've only been to a few ranges personally, it's interesting to see someone shoot at the place I've been to. And I'm pointing this out because the last time I was there was 4 years ago. And 4 years ago, I was doing this. That's not me. But 4 years ago, nice center shot riser, by the way. There we go. That's me at the same place 4 years ago. This is an indoor range, by the way. So we're shooting outdoor rounds in the indoor venue because this is the only venue in Melbourne which is this big. Oh man, that is so old school. Man, I didn't have a club uniform back then. I had the Hoyt sleeves, by the way, the Team Hoyt quiver with a win-win bow. I still have these sleeves. I believe this was a Monash t-shirt I was wearing, a polo top. So I had this top for ages. I still have it, by the way. But no club uniform, no merchandise, nothing. That's probably my arrow down there or something. I didn't check this, but wow. This is going back a long way. Do I do something useful here? Man, that's a crappy shot. That's up there. What am I doing? This is a 60-meter round on a big face. I should be doing much better than this. But hey, you know what? I was a noob back then. That's just 4 years ago, guys. So I was still very much picking up my form 4 years ago. For those who are optimistic about learning and want to become good shots, don't be like me. But this is a good example of where you'd be in like one and a half years or something. So there are quite a few things going wrong there. But just want to point out, it's the same venue. That is pretty cool. So there we go. I get to watch somebody shooting at my own venue. Not my own club, obviously, but my venue. So here's Marcus 4 years later shooting at this place. So let's talk about this video. And yes, by the way, WA did start a new series called was it My Range? So yeah, there was a 70-meter range, but in Melbourne there's nothing like that except for this one club here, which is a very interesting place to be. So let's have a quick look once more. It's an email from someone. Ooh, I'll check it in a moment. Let's watch Marcus in a bit more detail. Let me just quickly check this. That is not relevant right now. So let's get back to Marcus. Marcus. Let's do this. Sorry. There. Okay, so we'll do the front view. The back view will reinforce what we see, but the front view will tell us everything. And remember, guys, this is a beginner. All right, he's just starting out on a club bow. Take it easy on the feedback. One of the things which I kind of get a little frustrated with when people post videos as a beginner is that we tend to be too nitpicky on the things that all beginners go through. So saying things like shooting too quickly or no pre-draw, that's a given. All right, and I find there's no point in identifying the same things because it's not going to be things you can really change. Because what we often identify in beginner videos are superficial symptoms, not the causes. So we want to reinforce what they're doing well, but also identifying the fundamental concepts that will reflect in better performance. So if there's no pre-draw and the draw's too fast, yes, those are accurate observations, but they don't reflect actual problems. So as a learner, you won't put together these things. As an experienced archer, you can connect the cause and effect more clearly. So what I'm saying here is take it easy on people who are just learning. For people who are intermediates, might be more critical of their shooting rhythm or their time at anchor. But for someone starting out, I'm not going to make a big deal about a lot of things. I'm not going to tell someone to take long on the draw because when you're shooting an 18-pound bow, you won't feel the difference between a short hold and a long hold. That's something you tend to feel more when you shoot a 20, 25, 30-pound bow. So take it easy. Back to the video. Here we go. And having said that, yes, of course, these things like, drawing too quickly or no pre-draw, that's normal. But this is someone's just starting out, like using freaking Eastern Jazz arrows from a club bow. Take it easy. Okay, let's watch the process. So, that, you might say there's no pre-draw. So, I know because he's learning from a Melbourne club, he's been taught the same method that most of us have learned from. By pre-draw, what we refer to is the need to lift the bow up first before drawing it back. That's a pre-draw step. So normally you have a set position or a pre-draw, whatever you call it, and then you lift the bow, draw it back, then you shoot. That's the process we tend to focus on. And the reason why we teach this as a process is because it isolates certain steps. When people combine steps together, for example, lifting and drawing at the same time, you can still achieve the right alignment, especially on light bow where it's easier to do so. But it's harder to get both steps correct. It's similar to, again, think about mathematics. You're taught to show working out when you do maths because if you make a mistake, you can identify which part of that process you made the mistake on. The result might still be accurate or correct, but the process, the step might be wrong. And if your result is wrong, you can go back, check your working out, and see where you went wrong. And think of a shot process as the same sort of thing. You're taught these very rigid steps: stance, hook, grip, set position, pre-draw, draw, anchor, expand, release, follow through, reflect, or something, depending on what method you use. But when you start out, you should stick with these fundamentals. And even people who become intermediate and they kind of skip through the steps, we remind them to go through the steps because they become too flustered and clustered with too much process in their minds. They're going through all the motions in one action, but not identifying which part is the problem. Now, is there a problem in this shot? Not really. But one thing you might want to keep an eye on, Marcus, is that you should not just draw it straight up, but spend a bit of time to get up there and then draw it back. Make sure when you do this, your grip is correct, your shoulders are correct, and then you draw. If you go too quickly, you might find yourself with the wrong shoulder alignment, and that can be punishing, especially later on with high draw weights. So, back to our shooting. We'll see this a bit later too with the rush shot process. By the way, every learner does this. Did you remember those who are like? I know most of you watching have probably done archery for quite a while, but do you remember back when you started out, when you picked up your bow and you were told to get the cock feather facing the outside, and you're like turning. Everyone does that, and it's just nice to see someone go through the same steps again, because it's one of the things we grow out of. We just do it naturally, or we shoot, spin wings or something where there's no cock feather, so we just align things naturally. But someone's just starting out has to think about finding it and aligning it. Whereas nowadays you can just pick up any arrow and just go whoosh, done, click, done. So the small things like loading a bow are things which we take for granted. I'll say this again, like, when I shoot, like normally when I teach people at the beginner line, I normally shoot my horse-bow for thumb draw, because I don't have time to set up an Olympic bow. I'm not trying to show off my fancy bows. I just bring a fun bow to shoot. So sometimes I'll shoot with beginners with my fun bow, not to make them look bad, but to have fun. And one of the things that a lot of them get really impressed by is the way I load my bow and arrow. It's not a fancy large Anderton trick. It's simply I can draw from a quiver, slide down the riser, clip on the string, and then shoot. It's just something you do thousands of times. It becomes a smooth motion. If for someone starting out, they're still struggling to pick the arrow up by the nock, they're struggling to put the arrow on the string, and they see someone go click and ready, it just looks like phenomenal to them. Disregarding the actual shot itself, which might be crap, but just the way someone confidently clips the arrow on the string, it's mind-boggling to a lot of people. I find it funny now watching Marcus is just starting out, doing what we all did when we started, trying to find that knock alignment, trying to turn the right way. That I find is an interesting throwback. So, the actual shot now. See, that's why I'm thinking this isn't a bad thing. He does pre-draw here, right? He does start the draw a lot sooner, but he does lift the bow up. He does pull it back, and that's fine. There's nothing particularly wrong with this particular method. It's a little fast for someone who is still learning, but it's not a bad thing. I'll just bear in mind that there is some lens distortion, so I'm not going to be too picky on this position. But, let's see. Oh, the shot's not horrible, except for that release, and we'll see the next release for a better example. And I think this is the biggest thing that Mark's can work on is that release. Everything else he'll figure out as it goes along, but this release is going to reflect what it needs to work. And you see the same thing from the back view. The back view also, I always suspected from the back view this is going to happen. Bit of a lean back there, but the release is the same thing. So from the front view, there. So I watch that game. I think those watching know what needs to be fixed. But for those who are just learning, let's think about what he needs to do here. In slow motion, you can see the problem there. So, chat, what do you think I'm going to say about this release technique? This is probably the main talking point for this video. What needs to be fixed with this technique? Give me a moment to think about this. Now, this is normally something I don't pick out on someone's first day. After about 2 or 3 sessions, I'll start addressing this more directly. But again, for someone's first time, which I don't think it's his first time, by the way, but for someone's first time, I don't normally pay attention to this. It's something you can overlook, because a lot of people will eventually develop it over time. But obviously, as Last has correctly identified, it's plucky. It's a plucked release. So when we watch this again, we'll see what happens in the shot. And this is the one I need to work on the most. And we'll talk about why it happens. So when it comes to full draw, nothing wrong there. Most of this seems to be okay. He knows to put his shoulder down. He'll get it down more with more practice. But this anchor point's fine as well. Nothing's too wrong. Nothing for someone at his stage. Everything is completely fine. But that release is probably causing most problems there. So there are a couple things happening here. This is when someone thinks too hard and too consciously about the release. And as a result, the process is lost. So at this point in the shot, the archer should be maintaining back tension. The shot should be continuing. So you're still stretching and expanding even when you reach full draw. Instead, what Marcus does is that he collapses, so the hand will come slightly forward. And this is kind of a panic reaction that many newbie, old and new have. So when you pull it back and you're not focused, you're not confident, you tend to let yourself be pulled forward. So you throw the hand forward and then you release. It's kind of like you go whoops sort of thing. And this is a consistent thing with Marcus as he shoots. So his hand will slide forward and then he'll release in a, I'll say, an uncontrolled way. And that the side effect, which you'll see, is where his hand finishes. Nothing wrong there. Watch the head position. You want to keep your head leaning forward most of the time, either straight or slightly tilted forward. As you tilt back, the angle of the point of the parallax is different. So your eye is kind of looking at the tip of the arrow, but if you're leaning backwards, then the arrow will look lower, and therefore you kind of point it higher. You tend to shoot higher as you lean your head backwards. But the release, same sort of thing there. So a good release will see the hand moving straight backwards. And this is what I said earlier with Dominic's video. You should be feeling that back tension. You squeeze the back and the shoulders together, and the hand lets go, and you find yourself swinging around this way, straight back. And that's where you see a lot of experienced archers have that follow through. It goes straight back there. Olympians tend to go around the neck. Trad shooters tend to go straight back or somewhere around here. That's the natural result of using back tension and squeezing through with the rest of the shot. That's what you should be doing. When you use your hand to release, when you think about I'm going to let go, then the hand flies outward that way. It might be exaggerated, like kind of like that, or it might be a very soft release. In this case, if a light bow, then that is going to be the release there. So you're plucking the string and you end up that way. So you're thinking about using your hand to release rather than using your back and your shoulders. When you push through, that's the pattern you want. Push toward the target and use your shoulders to finish the shot. Not your hand to stay here and kind of flick it that way, because that means that you are not using back tension. And that, it really is the lesson for this video. Again, nothing else seems to be completely standout. It's typical progress at your level, so I'm not worried about other things. Someone might nitpick things like, oh, your foot's pointing too far back. I don't care about that. This is not the point of the video. There are things you will get more comfortable with as you do more shooting. So again, nothing wrong here. You could say, is a shoulder pointed up slightly? Yes, slightly, but I'm not gonna nitpick it right now because light bow, camera angle's kind of weird. Grip's fine, nothing too wrong with that. Arm cut's a little low, to be honest. This is not a form thing, but I think you might hit yourself at this point. So at some point in your practice, therefore you angle it lower. That's not what you normally hit, so you might want to rotate back up the forearm, but that's not unusual. And you see, again, that's a very weak release. It's a weak bow, I know that, but this release could be a little stronger. So we get to find a release there, and pluck. There we go. So forward movement, pluck the string, and the hand flies out to the side. So to fix that, more back tension. Hit your anchor, hold it tightly, push with your front arm, and then pull back. Rotate your elbow behind your head, and that will get you the back tension in place. Think power. The shot needs power. It doesn't happen by itself. You need to apply power to finish the shot. We'll do this back angle. Yeah, it is slightly high, but I'm not worried about this. Not at this stage. But you can see it's a limp release. It seems okay here, but the back is relaxed on the release. So instead of coming together in a squeeze motion and the hand coming backwards, you can see it's a pretty static shot. So that's really the feedback I'll give to Marcus at this stage. The shot is a little static. I mean, again, at this stage, I would expect this from a learner. Therefore, these things are fairly easy to address. More practice, more power, and you'll be fine. It is now 12:11 at bit past midnight. I'm a little tired, actually. So I might cut the Q&A short, but I'll give you a few minutes to go through some Q&A. Yes, Shalasa, that is a traffic cone, a fairly common quiver we use in Australia. I know people talk about things like, why don't you review ground quivers? Because they're ground quivers. You stick in the ground, you put arrows there. Why review them? Just a bit of like metal. There's no design element. There's no like high-end ground quiver. But a lot of us use traffic cones as ground quivers because traffic cones are easy to get. Buy them from your local hardware store, and there you go. You've got a ground quiver. We use it at our club too, as the road cones. Seems to be fairly standard Australian issue. Oh man, I'm feeling tired now. I'm supposed to make strings. One of my club members wanted me to make a couple of bow strings, and I'm supposed to make my today or tomorrow. Didn't make it tonight. I was doing other things. I was playing Hearts of Iron 4. Finally got working again. I've been playing some War Thunder. Did some tank reviews, and I've been doing a lot of games for the Pop Shot series. So I haven't scripted it yet. Just need to find some time to get some stuff together. And surprisingly, I started playing Diablo again. Not 3, not 2, 1. And oh my goodness, that is so old school. It's like retro gaming, It's I can't believe I'm gonna do Diablo 1 as a Pop Shots feature. But I grew up on Diablo 1. It's funny because most of my friends played Diablo 2. And I played a lot of Diablo 2. I never played Diablo 3, but I played a lot of Diablo 2. But I started with Diablo 1, the 3 classes, the Rogue, the Warrior, and the Sorcerer. And I played Battle.net for hours as a kid. And I freaking loved it. And now I'm an adult playing it. It just comes back to you. It's really funny. Holding the shift key to not like run around the area by accident. And you miss all the features of newer games. Like in D2, you can like see the items and health bars and so on. It's funny. It is quite funny. And hopefully it turns out alright. I want to do a feature for Pop Shots. I've quite a few things lined up. I've got Primal lined up ages ago. I just did Shogun 2, by the way. So we're doing some Shogun 2 on the Pop Shot series. But it's mostly trying to get. I've got a lot of schoolwork to do, marking reports, and hopefully to get some free time to do some entertaining videos. All right, so where were we? Zoga, a friend bought a $14 fiberglass bow for his daughter's birthday. What's the nicest way I can tell him he doesn't love his children? How old's the daughter, by the way? Okay, don't be too judgmental on someone buying a fiberglass bow, because if all you want is for your kids to experiment with archery, who cares? Fiberglass bows can be fun, they can be used. But if you want to actually get someone to do archery long term, yeah, that's something. Basically, look, it's the nicest way is to tell them it's a toy. It's a plastic toy. $14 fiberglass bow is a plastic toy. It's not real bows. So refer to it as a toy. I know people say don't call bows toys. Sorry, don't call bows toys. But a fiberglass bow is $14 is effectively a toy. That's what I would equate it to. That's what I would say. But I would kind of refrain from, denigrating that bow in the context of buying things for the kids. But again, depends on the age of the child. If she's only like 8 years old, then that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If she's like 14 years old, then maybe it's a bad choice. I got a message. All right, let's have a quick look. Is it a relevant message? Is it going to help me here? Is it a form check? I'm feeling really tired for some reason. Let's have a look. Okay, hello there. I'm doing that. How's the comments? Any recommendations on how to stop destroying arrows every time I shoot? As in hitting your own arrows? Shoot at a further distance or shoot different target spots? If you are destroying your arrows because you're grouping too tightly, then aim for different spots on the target, because clearly you have the ability to hit what you are aiming at. You're a good spot shooter. So have a tri-spot target or a 5-spot target. Don't shoot 6 arrows in the same spot, because if you know you're going to smash arrows, you will. If you're going to be stubborn and say, I'm going to shoot all 6 arrows in a spot, it might be good practice for you, for consistency. But if you're already that consistent, then stop doing it. I've broken too many ACEs and X10s of being stubborn and shooting the same spot every single time. That's stupid. So, yeah, any recommendations? Shoot at different targets. That's the easy way out. Is it cold down here? It is actually. It's getting really chilly. The wind chill is starting to buzz. We've got rain and thunderstorms, but the wind chill is starting to hit. While I'm wearing, my woolen jacket down here. Alright, so there's a post here. Oh, that's not a foam check. It's Gondowix from the chat. I'm interested to know more about squeezing the shoulders and releasing with thumb draw. All tips. I can teach you that. That's what I can show. Thumb draw. Yeah, sure. I'll go back to Zeus in a moment. Thumb draw. I don't have a thumb draw thing here. I kind of do. Let's pretend I've got a thumb ring here. This is my overly large one, but let's say I've got a thumb. That's a very large thumb, actually. But, yeah. Look, the thing with thumb draw, I can't demonstrate without a bow, right? But with a Mediterranean draw, the same thing will you got. You anchor. You need to press the anchor fairly tight against your face. And a lot of people shoot with a light anchor, and therefore they didn't really feel it. So they have a very light tension, a very light anchor. Now, get it right in your face. The closer it is, the closer the string to your face, the more you're pushing against your face, the stronger it is. You don't want that flexibility, that play, that error margin with your anchor point. Get it really tight in your face, and then squeeze. A lot of people who do archery say you've got to relax. That's true for a lot of people. But I find that a lot of people like me, who are more introverted, more mellow, more calm, need to get a little more aggressive because we're too soft on our shot. So I say, get it in there, push it in, power it through. You got to feel the tension in that shot. It's not going to be a smooth motion, gentle, and then release. It's more like, get it in there, get it in your face, get it off. Thumb draw, same sort of thing going on there, okay? So if you're using a thumb draw, you anchor differently. It might be, for example, for me, behind the ear. But it doesn't change for a Mediterranean draw. You get to your anchor point. At this point in your anchor, you don't just let go as soon as you touch it. What you do is you get to your anchor point, you feel that tension in your shoulders. You are expanding through the shot. You're continuing to move. I'm exaggerating with the camera here, but internally, you feel the squeeze in your shoulders. And only then do you go wham. It's that squeeze. It's not about getting it back here and then letting it go. The squeeze is what you need to focus on. Even without a bow, you can feel it. Back to Zeus. Sorry, those are my sidetrack with the previous comment. So Zeus, you just mentioned the tip of the arrow came off when it hit the target. I did destroy it as we're hitting them. Okay. As in the arrow comes out of the shaft, or does the tip break or bend? If the tips are coming out of the shaft when you pull them from the target, then you need to glue them better. You need to think about the way you glue the points. The points may be poorly glued. You need to maybe use some sandpaper to rough up the shaft of the insert to get more contact surface. Use a better glue, get a better fit, and that sort of thing. So make sure you glue it correctly. If you're breaking the arrows by hitting the target, I'm not sure what you're doing here. So you might be hitting the wrong target, like a hard target. I don't know. More elaboration, please. Sorry. Rem, send me an email to this address. So if you've got a video on YouTube or on Google Drive or something, send me an email to this address, and I will happily take a look before I fall asleep. You can do it in the next 5 minutes, otherwise I'm heading off. If not, I'll do it next time for you. Okay. Morton, yes, I have seen Greg's video referencing Armo's technique. Look, I don't want to, like I said, it's not my role to criticize other archers or creators or producers. I find that Greg's technique, I don't know, I expect him to shoot with a bit more conventional, solid style, which to me would make more sense. I find Greg's style to be a little loose. That's something that's the way he shoots. So the way in my opinion, and don't hold me to this, in my opinion, I find that Greg is right for most of the time, or most explanation, but I find some of the finer details I interpreted and executed a little off from what the actual concept is. So he has the right fundamental, the right concept, but I find that sometimes the way he does it doesn't align with what he says sometimes. So I can't remember the exact video. Let me just rewatch it. I have seen it. I just can't remember what it was exactly. It's been a while since I last saw it, and I'm a little tired now, so I'm a little hazy. Let's bring it back up. So there were a couple of things that I thought were interesting in this talk. It's in Archery 101. Whoops, that's not the button I want to press. Back to my history. That's gone, important there. Okay. Your anchor different perspective. Okay. Oh, it was this concept, right? Okay, I remember now. Okay, all right. I'm not sure why I didn't like this video in particular. I think it's a good video. It's always better ones actually. I'm playing at half speed, which doesn't help. Back to full speed. Unfortunately, my sound's off, so I can't actually see what he's doing. So the video he's talking about is the anchor point. Okay, all right. I understand the concept here. So in the video, Arn mentioned and Greg mentions that an anchor point should not be chosen arbitrarily, and there should be the alignment of bone on bone, and that should tell you where your anchor should be. You don't pick your anchor, your body picks your anchor. That's basically the idea, wasn't it, right? So my thoughts on letting your body dictate the anchor point. I don't necessarily agree with Greg's rendition or interpretation of the concept, because he seems to imply that why people anchoring at the mouth anchor, why people doing this, who told you to do that? Well, we told you to do that. We teach people to do this because it's an easy reference point. Now, of course, as you advance in your own style, you will find what's more comfortable for you. I do agree to the point where when people look at form checks, they always criticize the anchor point. Always. Whether it's my video or somebody else's videos, they say, oh, you shouldn't like crap because you're anchoring too short. If your anchor gets you on target consistently, then it's a good anchor. It doesn't matter if you have to draw back. Thumb draw is a good example because people who shoot thumb draw are so passionate. They're so, I'll say anal about you have to overdraw here by shooting Manchester. No, you don't. If you're shooting a particular form like Kyudo or Korean or Manchu, then yeah, this is the anchor point. But if you're just using a thumb draw, it doesn't matter where you anchor. You can anchor in the Ottoman style and be very short. You can anchor long. You can anchor at your ear or down here Olympic style. As long as you anchor, you're fine. So we shouldn't address anchor points superficially as it has to touch a certain place. That is where I think I agree with. It shouldn't be an arbitrary point that people say you should do. But the anchor points that are used are recognized as generally being the most repeatable, and you can make your body work with those anchor points. Because ultimately, if you're talking about letting your body dictate the right anchor point, then you use a floating anchor point. That's what Kyudo teaches. That's what Korean archery teaches. That's what Manchu archery teaches. You don't use your facial reference point because your body isn't going to be in the right position if you use a face anchor point. If you want to truly talk about your body determining the correct anchor, then this is the right anchor point. How does that work? Because your shoulders are in the fully extended position, they're flat in line, it is the maximum possible draw. This is the maximum length. You can't draw any further back than this. And if you think about it historically and in practical purpose in combat, getting a gross motion like this is more it's easier to reach than a fine motion like this. You can't do this from horseback. You can't do this when you're stressed out in combat. Doing a big motion and you're letting your body dictate the maximum length, very similar to what you might consider a compound draw. You can't overdraw a compound, you reach a maximum draw at some point. Your body has a maximum draw. So in the extreme end of letting the body dictate the anchor point, the floating anchor is actually the best representation of that concept. Now, of course, in current execution of target shooting, the floating anchor is very difficult to get right because it relies on gross motion with your body. Whereas in modern target shooting, we rely more on minor, precise motion and precise reference point. That's why the face is very important. So we sacrifice that large motion that's used for power and distance and repeatability under combat conditions for something that is a lot milder. It's more appropriate for lighter draw weights. So the fundamental behind the body alignment, I think, is a sound thing. It doesn't mean you have to change your anchor point just because this is mainstream. So that's not what anyone's saying, but don't change for the sake of change. The point is, people anchor here or here or here because these are very easy anchor points to use, to reference, to repeat. And you can still execute the correct level of tension and alignment with any of these anchors. You can shoot Olympic style and still get correct alignment with your back tension, your shoulders and your elbow. You can do the same thing with a cheek anchor or a mouth anchor or an ear anchor. All these things can be done with the correct alignment. So you don't have to go and say, oh, I naturally align here and therefore this should be my anchor point. If that works for you, fantastic. It works for you. You do it, you make it work, you shoot well. But that's the thing. You can make it work. Any anchor point you use can be adapted with the correct technique to make work. Hence why you have techniques which short draw, like the Ottoman styles or some Turkish styles. They short draw with thumb draw and they still shoot exceptionally well. You can draw long and shoot very well. You can draw average and shoot exceptionally well. In the end, it's not about the idea of everyone having their own natural alignment. Alignment can be achieved whether it's natural or not. What's more important is that the reference point you use should be consistent. When we think about Gao Ying and Manchu archery, he does a whole point about how he used the examples of when people who never learn to shoot properly can never reach full draw. And that's an observation to make for his style of archery at his time, where full draw is about getting that power and length in, and people who don't train and don't do it properly can't do so. In modern times, it's not about whether you can or can't. Everyone can with a modern anchor point. But it's about making your point work for you. Whether you choose this, or whatever, you can always get the correct alignment in your body. So that's where we'll kind of diverge a bit from Archery 101's explanation. Arnmo is correct in what he says. He is referring to, that's why Arn's a good coach. He personalizes the instruction that he gives to people. It doesn't mean you take that exact wording and apply it to something else. You can. And it's a way to extend that, but that's not necessarily what he means. And in the case of DIY Sportsman, he had certain form habits that were complicated. So he had issues with, I can't remember what the original issue was, but what I addressed was a habit that DIY Sportsman also had that's making him having trouble shooting properly. He had target panic or something, but there were multiple problems laid on top of another. So that was addressing one problem. So overall, I know I might have been harsh on Greg before, but yeah, I don't think it's necessary to go to the extreme of saying that you should ignore all common anchor points. But it's also not about everyone has a unique anchor point. I actually disagree with that. Most people can use the same 2 or 3 anchor points and should perfectly fine and make the correct form alignment and back tension work. You don't need to have a specific point. Some people, over time, with experimentation, will prefer certain points over others. But it's not something which needs to be strictly discussed or divided in that sort of way. That's my analysis of the video. Alright. Hi Mika, by the way. Welcome back. I was ranting there, missed the point there. So the arrow, so Zeus. So you're shooting a bag full of paper, and the arrow breaks. What arrows are you using, and what's that bag? Paper. Paper's not a good target to shoot at, honestly. But if the arrow tip breaks, what are you hitting? If you're shooting a proper target, the tip should never break, unless you're using really crappy fiberglass eBay arrows, or you're hitting a hard target. Because paper shouldn't do that. That's some really ridiculous paper. Any other questions, by the way? Just gonna kind of quit in a moment. Mika, the instinctive anchor is also achieved by constant application within the bedding of the joints. Might be a translation thing there. I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about. Livrock, I tend to wiggle my head when I want to get to my anchor, but I should recap. Can you help? Help you with what exactly? With wiggling your head. Keep your head still. This is a common thing with a lot of shooters. Something you want me? Oh, form check. Great. I didn't know. A lot of people do this. They draw back, and they go like that, right? So you're talking about wiggling your head. So you draw and you find your anchor, right? That is fairly normal when people start out. So that is okay. Get used to the right feeling, and over time, especially when you have a good shot, right? When you have a good shot, and it feels right, and you execute it fine, remember your head position. The next shot, keep your head there, then make it work. So sometimes I do it too. I kind of forget what my head should feel like, so I kind of have to move ahead to get it just right, or Olympic style, just right. And once I do that shoot well, I might sacrifice a bad habit for the right feeling once or twice. But once I get that feeling, then I want to do it over and over again without moving my head. Because again, sometimes you just forget exactly where your head should be. So it's okay to shift your head and wiggle it to find that place. Alright, let's hit the form check. Over here. Let's refresh. Here we go. Alright, let's have a quick look. This is from Antonia Russell, or Rem, in the chat right now. Ooh, this is interesting. Okay, let's watch this. Now, you're going to remind me, Rem, which one you are in this video. Okay. Bing. Sorry, wrong one. So, I'm assuming that you are the one on the right over here, right? If I'm wrong, please tell me. Otherwise, I'm analyzing the wrong person. Okay, so let's watch person on the right. Sorry, Rem. I know this is probably you. Okay. 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 Draw weight, by the way. Rem, can you clarify draw weight? I'm imagining using a fairly light bow. Yes, lefty, thank you. I imagine shooting a fairly light bow, right? I'm guessing 20-ish pounds. That's my my first guess. Just while we're getting a little ready, quick observation. This lady shooting on the right side, on the left side here. This is something I see a lot of newbies do. By the way, ground quiver. You can move close to your ground quiver. A lot of people do this. They kind of leave the arrows too far away and stand really far away. I see a lot of people in my range do this. I move I have to move the cone closer to them, so you can stand right here, guys. It's okay. So this is unnecessary effort to bend down the pickup. You can always like leave it next to your foot. But some people do this a lot for some reason. By the way, this guy is he really tall? This guy, he's like compared to everybody else around him, he's really tall. But back to Rem. Sorry, a little distracted there. But nice observation. 22-pound bow. Thought so. Thank you. All right, let's watch this again. I've clicked the wrong screen. All right, let's watch this again. There are a couple of shots. Sorry, I keep doing that. Okay, let's do this. All right, let's do this. Let's see our process. How long have you been shooting for, by the way? I'm gonna guess, what, 3 to 4 months? That's my guess. Maybe 2 even. Some normal patterns here. Ah, I see. Let's watch. Not 2 shots. Okay, so we'll do it again. Okay. This is what I do every time I get form. I watch it over and over again, especially on a 2-shot process. So I'll see patterns. Of course, it's a 2-shot process, but we can learn a lot from this. Okay, so I'm gonna go drink first. Drinking. Mika, send your video to this address. So link your video or email me there. Share it there. All right. Okay. So let's go 2 months. Very good. So I want to point out the reason why I ask is that I want to make sure that I know where you're at. Okay. So when I say 2 months, I'm not making fun of you. What I'm doing is that the way you progress is where you should be. That's really what I'm trying to validate first. So a lot of people do archery. They feel like, oh, I'm doing really poorly, I'm not shooting well, and they get really bad about themselves. Whereas, you know, when you train someone from beginning to end or from whatever, then you see patterns. And this is what someone shooting for 2 months will look like. So the way you're progressing is where you should be. And I think that's a good thing for you. So let's go through your process a bit more. And let's see what we can do more specifically. So let's watch this shot process. I'll use this 1 shot here just to make it easy for ourselves. Alright. So 22-pound bow is quite light, so you won't feel the strain as much. So let's go from, I'll slow motion this. I'm going to keep repeating myself over and over again if I keep doing this. Let's go half speed. Let's do this. Alright. So, one thing I would recommend, and this is, okay, every person I've taught in 2 months does this, it's completely fine. But as you become more familiar with your shot process, this is one thing you might find yourself changing, especially if a coach watching over you. So, sorry, screen. This is what I mean. So, when you lift the bow up, let's pause there. This is your starting point in your pre-draw. So you follow the shot process very rigidly up to this point, and rigid is okay as a learner becoming familiar with the steps. So there's nothing wrong with having a shot process where you go step by step. This is almost the opposite to Marcus, as we saw before, who went through every motion a bit too smoothly. So there's nothing wrong with this. What I am looking out for, though, is, going back to the screen, the elbow alignment here. Alright, so let's talk about this draw moment here. So the first part is the elbow alignment. Now, when you pay attention to this position here, the elbow is a bit low. Alright, so what we generally get people to do is to lift the elbow a little high, at least in line with the arrow or higher. And I'll show you on the main camera, okay? So what we're doing in this sequence, I'm going to try for an angle. Ta-da! Okay, so what we see, he's emailing me. Oh, that's you, Mika. Thank you. Okay, so this is what we call the extreme variation. It's a chicken wing, all right? So it's when you draw like this, when it's really low, and you get a very cramped feeling in the shoulder and your bicep. So what you're doing is not quite that, but it's actually a little low. So considering you're shooting Olympic style of a sight, you kind of draw under here, right? So if you start a little too low, you end up using too much of your bicep to draw, rather than drawing with your elbow and then using your shoulder muscles and your back eventually. So what I recommend, instead of pay attention to your drawing arm when you start, instead of starting down here and drawing back, ouch, lift your elbow higher. And the reason why this is important is if your elbow is higher and you draw your anchor, you will engage more of your back muscles. When you draw low with a low elbow, you use less back muscle and more bicep. And that's something you'll see in your shot process if you watch in more detail. So we'll play this again. And when you draw the string, notice how your arm comes back. This is probably an exaggerated straight draw. All right, nothing wrong with this. But when you see the way you draw, again, this is something I normally see in beginners. So a couple of things here. Let's try it again. So in this position, there are a couple of things to look at in your arm. So the first thing is the drawing method. And this is why I find it's not particularly strong draw. You can get away with a light bow, but I find this is a little inefficient because the way you use your arm is you basically use your triceps here and your bicep compressors, and you have a cramp draw. Now again, with beginners, it's normal to have some difficulty or challenge with flexibility. So you might find it hard to get the arm all the way back. But I'm not personally fond of this technique of drawing. What you try to do is to keep that arm straight. You can see there is a break between the line of the arrow and your arm. And that's basically an impossible shot. If you ever watch Hawkeye in the Avengers, he does this a lot. It's terrible form. So it's to be expected, but you want to try and keep this arm with the same plane, same line as the arrow. So how do we achieve that? A couple of things you can do. One is to remind yourself to start in the right position, right? Now that's why angular draw works, because angular draw keeps this in line. But even as you draw back, try to keep this in line as possible. This is probably the worst point when you see that arm is clearly pointing out that way and bending in back that way. The wrist is clearly broken, and therefore this alignment is wrong. And when you get the full draw and anchor, then you see that the wrist is still out of position. So how do we fix this? There are two things I would recommend in this position here, and both are slightly different but might address the same problem. One is to get this elbow behind your head. Okay, you can see it's quite far out. Get this back behind your head. This is the hunch that the other talking about in the video. Why it happens is because of that elbow position. So when you shoot, when you do this, get an angle, get a right angle here. There we go, that's better. Okay, so from the back, and I actually can't do this because I've been shooting with the right arm so long, I can't fake this. But to exaggerate, when you draw like this, in a low position, you draw to your anchor point, you can see, somehow, there we go. And hold on, no, wait, Sage. That's better, that makes more sense, like a reference point now. Alright, here we go, Sage. Point, there we go, Sage, there we go. This is more like it, there we go, talk about it. And I'm right-handed, but you can imagine this, right? So, by drawing low, and then drawing back here, with your, I say biceps, actually your tricep you're using it, but obviously you don't flex this. But you tend to do this, you come inwards. So your wrist is bent from this position, and then you come inwards like this. And then you kind of pull back when you can. I can't do a 45-pound bow. But the issue here is that breaking the wrist means that you're not using efficient shoulder alignment. You can do it if you practice hard enough. I actually can't do this with the 45-pound bow, so I won't do that. But there is a point to be made here. The point I'm trying to make is that this elbow should go far as you can behind here, not here. That's your current position. So we're breaking the elbow. When you draw it back, you're very compressed here. What you should do, if you can, back there. That is that position where possible. Not many people can do it initially, but it's something you'd be aiming for as you shoot. So that position is ideal. This position is very inefficient to the point where you might say it's wrong, because yeah, it's a break in the arrow. So that's one thing. Shoulder back further. The other thing you could do is to keep your wrist straight. So either keep it straight, or if you're using angular draw, bend it outwards like that. So that way, when you get the full draw, angular draw means you do this, right? You kind of go around, and then you get straight here. If a straight draw, you keep the wrist straight, you draw straight back, like that. If you are bending it this way, then you've got a very hard break here, a lot of tension in your wrist, and you draw the string in, and you have a broken kind of angle there. Arrows there, I don't have a spare arrow here, but you can probably see what I'm talking about there. That break in the wrist is going to cause a lot of problems. I can't fake it, I'm sorry, but you know, how do I do this? All right, it looks like this. Okay, so it looks very weird to see a broken wrist like that. So from this angle, there we go. That angle is probably the least efficient because you put more pressure here. When you're pulling it back, you tend to rely on your arm to compress inward, and then you stretch backwards. By keeping the wrist straight during the process, you reduce the tension here, and therefore you can draw straighter. So if you look back at the still shot, ouch, that wrist pain. So you can see that wrist is that there should be a straight line from the arrow through the forearm to the back of the elbow. That's where it should be. And you can see we never quite reached there. It's quite far out. So the point of progress for you would be to trying to get that hand straight, that wrist straight, and get the elbow further back. So those would be my two main recommendations. I'm not going to do any more than that because obviously you're still learning. But my recommendations are, one, to get this elbow slightly higher, so you start higher, and as you draw the bow, keep the wrist straight, and try to get the elbow further back behind your head. All these things will take time to practice and get right, but those would be my recommendations for you, Rem. Nice form check video, very clear to see this too. You can clearly see the point of improvement. And again, for someone shooting 2 months, this is what I would expect from someone at your stage. So well done to you, Rem. That's my feedback for you. Alright, let's check the email again. More stuff. I thought I was going to sleep now, but here we go. More stuff to analyze. Let's have a look. Alright. People send me stuff. Hey, people send me lots of stuff. Next one is from Mika. It's you and your daughter. Alright, let's have a look at some of these. Look at you first. I've seen YouTube before. Okay. Is this a form check, or are you showing off, Mika? If you're showing off, I'm not interested here. Ooh. Yeah, this isn't a form check, Mika. Mika, this is a form check video, not a trick shot video. That's Windows Movie Maker. I'm not showing this yet. I want to actually see what you're showing me. Yeah, sorry, Mika, not interested in this. I'm not interested in this, Mika. Look, I'm not sure what you're trying to do with this. If you want a form check, you can show me. I'll give you feedback. If you want to demonstrate trick shots, not in the live stream, I'm not interested. It's not that interesting either, honestly. Look, I'll show the stream, but this isn't interesting. Sorry, this is. I'm being harsh here, but look, it's nearly 1 a.m. I'm getting cranky, and you send me this. This is just not interesting. Like, this is the Odysseus challenge. And for background, this is the challenge where Odysseus has to shoot an arrow through several axe halves, so the holes in the axes. This is the replica. But why is this not interesting? Because you're like 3 meters away. This isn't interesting. This is not a skill shot. This isn't a trick shot. Firstly, they're all like plastic rings. It's given on a flat plane, which is obviously given, but what am I? What do you want feedback on? You know, is it you want feedback on technique? You're doing a trick shot. There's no technique here. And again, that's anyone can do this. You're just shooting a straight line at the closest distance. I mean, Rem can do this, and you actually hit things in the first place, so it doesn't count. Sorry, Mika, this is not impressive. That's not impressive. Nice filming though, by the way. I'll give you credit for that. It's nice filming, but that's not an impressive shot. So yeah, not sure why you're sending me this. Sorry, Mika. I'm just a little cranky with that one there. All right. Is the other ones interesting to watch? Because if you want a form check, I'll give you a form check. I'll give you commentary on that. But if you give me like just random videos, I'm just not interested in that. And about your daughter, you want me to give feedback too? I can give feedback, but you know, make it clear what you want me to do. Alright. I'm gonna have a quick look at this video. Okay, alright, this is a better thing. Let's do a quick commentary. So this is Mika's daughter. So there's a couple of there's one 5-second one-shot horse rule, which I'm not going to bother with because it's too short. But let's do this one right now. So this is Olympic recurve. Alright, let's play this from the start. Okay, let's do a next shot. Okay, so let's stop there. This is a nice demonstration of what Rem needs to work on, okay? So, pay attention to wrist. Alright, this is perfect. I don't want YouTube this. They keep doing this. Let's YouTube this one instead. Alright, so watch the position of the wrist, Rem. This is for you, Rem. Perfect. This is a great demonstration of what you should do with your wrist. So, watch how she does this. This is a good process. So, whoops, a bit too fast there. Let's slow it down. Slow it down. Alright. Behold. Okay, Rem, this is just for you. This is the best demonstration. Thank you, Mika, by the way. I know I was harshing it before, but this is the best demonstration for our purposes here. Okay, so the starting position, as you can see in this process, so she doesn't start low below her jaw, she lifts it above her nose line. Okay, and this is a good position because it engages the back muscles. Down below, you're using more arms. Here, that's pure back muscle. You can see the tension in the shoulders and the back transfer starts quite high at nose to eye length. Note the wrist position. The forearm is very close to the line of the arrow. The wrist is straight. And as she draws to a full anchor point, it stays straight. That is what you should be doing. That is actually a really good demonstration of good technique. Anchor point, solid. Elbow is pretty far back. Someone who is very good can get it back even further, but that's not a problem. Like, people who can shoot straight like this are good enough. Any further, you're exceptional. This is good. You can see that line there, arrow, and the forearm are very good. Nice rule of thumb. The forearm should be pointed towards the bow grip, which it is. This is very good alignment. This is very good coaching. I mean, this is slow motion, by the way. This is my setting. Now, if there's anything I'd probably criticize here, nice back tension follow through. Sling usage. Probably use a sling, let go of the bow. The release is a little stiff. It's rigid. It might work in close distance, but at long distance, you find yourself being punished a bit more. Am I on slow motion? No, it's fine. Normal speed. Okay. So, at normal speed, back. Alright, here we go. In, anchor. And I like how she isn't wasting time on the draw. A lot of people will spend a lot of time drawing slowly. She gets it right back. There's no time wasted. Just right back there, not wasting any energy in the draw. Anchors closely. Good release, good follow through. That's a good process. That's a very, very good process to watch. This is a good highlight tonight. It's a nice process. Good. That's good. Yeah, I would like to see like the bow drop and use a finger sling. Again, at close distance, it won't be that inconsistent, but if you're shooting a small target or a long distance target, that will cause some problems. That's a little stiff, but it's pretty normal for a classically trained archer. Yeah, probably the only thing is wrist sling. A finger sling and wrist sling, get that right. Nice angle too. Good body position. I actually might like to see a bit of straighter back, but that isn't horrible. That's fine. Again, good back tension, good follow through there. And this is what I mean by a proper follow through. This isn't forced. This is the result of snapping the shoulders back there. That's a really nice action. You can see there, back tension, bang, goes through. So this isn't a very good shot process. I will say this is very nice on her part. She's well trained, well practiced, and a clean shot process. Like I said, only thing I'd probably say is a bit rigid on the release. Could let go a bit more. You can see he has less experience. His bow is probably worse. But you can see, by the way, that's contrast on this side. You can see what I mean by the elbow isn't quite far back. So this is fairly normal. This is kind of like rim level, probably 2 months or 3 months. Elbow isn't far back. He's got an arcing back, by the way. So he is a little, probably going to use his straw weight. So he's arcing his back. He is out of line, so it's pointing downwards, plus not far back. Fairly normal. And over time, you will learn to get the elbow further and further back. So there's not a contrast of two different styles here. But this is a very good feedback video. Same this shot here. A little further out, but it does execute a nice shot. So the shot is clean. So at least the process is good. The shot is clean. You just need to get some of this stuff correct. So try and push his back, probably tuck your stomach in a bit more. Get the back straighter. And she's doing quite well as it is. I think the anchor's a little loose there, in that shot there. So that time, yeah, I'd probably try and get this a little further back. I mean, her previous shots were quite good. If you look at that shot compared to her previous one on this side, you can see that she kind of gets it back further. I think she might be getting tired by this point. So that's probably a consistency thing. Try to keep on working on that anchor point. That was a little loose there. You can see it's loose, there's a bit of a gap there, and that's more compressed than usual. Just follows a nice process, by the way. Process is fine. But perhaps a little loose in the shot. Let's do a couple more. That's a bit better. But the anchor point is a little loose. To my liking. Probably can make it a little tighter for more consistency. And yeah, there's no sling there, so I probably recommend using a sling. Learn to let go of the bow. If we compare to the first few shots, I think there's more good technique here. I feel here it's a bit better. There's still a bit of a gap between the jaw, but there's nothing wrong with that. This one here, it's more natural. This is probably a bit more natural. Better line, whereas by the end, she's a little more cramped up. That's not bad. It's not bad. She's doing pretty well. So overall, this is a nice video actually, and it's a nice demonstration of good form and good habit. So there we go. That's actually not too bad. That is not too bad. All right. With some quick comments over here. The video is private, Alex. They're not going to bother with that. Yeah, it's a Ukrainian archery school from Kharkov. Good, not fantastic. No, it's you can tell in a formal training environment, people have been training well. So well done, Mika. Thanks for that. Good demonstration there. All right, there's another one before. Let's have a quick look. And we have one from, we've got more actually. This one is a form check from Shahida. Oh, this is interesting. And this is on Google Photos. Okay, cool. I'll continue it myself. This is the first, Google Photos, really? Alright, this will be fun. Does it play properly? It should load. Oh, that's a nice bow there, Shahida. I'm hoping this video loads. While I'm doing that, I'll watch the next one. Libertine, you sent me a blank email. That doesn't count. I can't review a blank email. You might want to resend that. It's blank. Libertine 717. Alright, let's try again from Shahida. It doesn't seem to be loading for me. Please work. Oh, it's working. I think. Oh yes, here we go. It's working. Oh, that's a nice graceful move. All right, let's watch this together. This is nice. Okay, this is from Shahida. Let's full screen this. All right. I like the energy in the shot. I think this is the most dynamic shot process we have. So quite a few archers will be static in the processes. This is a bit more dynamic, and this is actually close to what the Olympians do. The national shooters would do. One way, it's basically, it's good to do this in a certain way because you're using your muscles more efficiently. You're not wasting time using slow draws. So doing this, you get the anchor point, nice anchor there, that's nice and tight. Good position, elbow is nice, it's good position behind your head. Nice line with the arrow, good grip, nice finger sling there. This is national professional style shooting. You can tell between someone who's amateur trained and someone who's probably trying to go for national shooting. This is probably more what you see at national level. Not the quality necessarily, but the style is more of a competitive style. Now, it is one thing I'll probably be a bit more hesitant. It's kind of like the release. That is too much flare. And that shows that the process has been lost somewhere in the sequence. And it's a very short video, so I'm trying to get slower. Is there a slow motion in this version? Yes, there is. Thank you, Google. Alright, so everything up to this point is nice. I like the setup here. So this position from here, this is, I imagine, something which she does repetitively. This is a good setup. So this keeps the shoulders down on level. You can see here, the forearm and the arrow are perfectly in line. And this will set the position for the entire shot process. We go to the next shot, again, nice position, become the full draw, good use of your arm there. Starts high, comes down gently, into the anchor point, nice little upward movement there, and this is textbook shooting style. Good arm position, good anchor, good grip over here, nice bow too. Nice camera work, by the way. I don't know if you look at the video, Shahida, but the camera work is beautiful. This is everything you want to see in a shot. Now, this one I'm looking for, the release. That is a little limp there. Okay, so it was good for that one moment, but when you release, I feel that you've lost your back tension. And that gives it away in slow motion. So that to me is probably the one thing I probably look at, is try and get a cleaner release. That was a bit jerky here. And this backward movement, I'm not sure if you're meant to do this, but that's a little unnecessary. A good release would come clean back behind your neck. If you're doing this out of habit, you might want to change that because it can influence your release if you don't do consistently. So we'll watch full speed again. So I like this process. From the start, up, in, anchor, good rhythm there. And shooting closest and target, it's pretty easy to shoot here, but it's still good practice to do this. This is very nice. Good process, in, anchor, yeah. At full speed, it's okay. Nothing bad with it, but I think the follow through, if I was a coach, I'd probably tap you here and go, yeah, don't do this. It's just unnecessary flare. It's kind of showing off now. That's a nice process. Very clean. Happy with that. Good stuff. Well done, Shahida. Well done. Whew, that was fun. This is a form check video, Mika. I'm not here to shelf bows. It's a form check. You get feedback on form. Very nice. And again, Libertine, blank email. So, can't help you there. Alright, that's the last video from this set, actually. So, last comments. It's now 1 AM. Holy crap. Ah, that was not my intention. Yeah. Whew. Beautiful. Thank you for the video. I recommend ending there. That's a great way to end. We've seen a lot of videos today from beginners, from intermediates, people with more background and training. And it's great how we can learn from one another like this. It's such a rare opportunity, a unique opportunity to showcase people from around the world shooting with different styles, different backgrounds, different techniques, different training, and comparing and learning from each other. What one person does wrong or not well can be seen as someone else as a way to improve. What someone does really well can be a goal for someone just starting out. All these things are things which I like to use, and we don't really have that reference, that resource where we can look at people shoot and understand why they do so. We have the professionals, we have Archery TV, but when you have that ability to sit down and talk through and watch other people shoot, this is really a goal which I didn't really have in mind. But now we have a nexus where we can watch different people and learn from each other. That to me is a grand goal. And on that note, thank you to everyone who shared their videos today. Everything you do is a learning experience, especially those who sent blank emails. So you learn from your mistakes. Again, as usual, if you want a form check, feel free to send me an email or a link to your video. Once I get a few, I can do them in one video and we can spend some time talking about it. But I do hope you enjoyed this form check video as usual. Thank you for following me. This is NUSensei. I'll see you next time.